Please forgive me, my dear wife. This is how Nwankwo was begging his wife and pleading. Will she forgive him? Let's find out in this great story. It was said that Aboma grew up to be an exceptionally beautiful lady. It was also said that the intermediate whispers within the village gossip ecosystem still hinted at a connection between Aboma and the spirit world, though after a while, these whispers gradually faded, piling in significance to her enchanting beauty. Even the derogatory nickname Aboma soon gave way to the name she was given at birth, Adaku. And then her voice. It was said that Adaku has the most melodious and sonorous voice ever heard by anyone living or dead, and that when she let go of her voice, even birds paused in mid-fight upon hearing her voice. Several droppings right out of the sky to their utter astonishment. Ada, as her friends called her, was a popular sight around the village, ever ready to lend a helping hand, especially to the widows who had no child, no one to help them. She was regularly seen trudging the path to Oba, the local spring, ensuring that she filled all the water pots in her house before she proceeded to do the same for the homes of the aged widows in the village, even helping them to do their laundry when required. Ada was a gem. It was very common to hear an elderly woman or man refer to Ada in conversation. Nwatakịrị ahụ na-agba mbọ ọfụma, omume ya amaka, meaning that child really works hard and she's such a good-natured and well-behaved person. It then wasn't surprising that in a short while, there was a long line of suitors asking for her hand in marriage. On the day of her marriage to Nwankwo, the son of Nwaokore, the great yam farmer, it was a very proud elder brother Eke who gave her away, tears of joy in his eyes. The younger brother Nkwo, giving a gentle nod to his rib, and an astonished Nwokem, men don't cry, only triggered more tears. After the festivities, her proud brothers Eke, Nkwo, Afo, and Ore, none of whom were yet to get married, stood in the courtyard in a daze, the setting sun casting an ominous glow on their faces as the village young women, singing and dancing, led Ada to her new home. The women were all singing, Ona, Ona, Beya, Ona, Ona, Beya, Dakwana, Ona, Beya, Ona, Ona, Beya, meaning Adaku has gone. She has gone to her home. Adaku has gone to her matrimonial home. This song echoed throughout the compound. Nwankwo was very eager to get to work. He was said to inherit a wide expanse of farmland from Nwaokore, his father. So he had to make sure that by the time the farms were willed to him, he would have enough children and wife to cultivate them. On several occasions, he was heard boasting that his new wife would soon start spitting to fear, as he was eager to get this child-breeding thing on the way. But that didn't happen. With the benefit of insight, the couple's first 6 months together were blissful. Nwankwo left for the farm early each morning, surrounded by the beautiful voice of his loving wife. He returned every day to the delicious aroma of the evening meal wafting from the hearth. A quick shower, meal, and survey of the village square, just to update himself with the goings on the village. He retired to his room with a glint in his eyes. Unfortunately, this mischievous glint started fading after the 6th moon, for even Adaku grew weary, and her melodious voice now rang out, tinged with hints of despair. By the 9th moon, Nwankwo came back home with a new wife, Akudo, grumbling that he needed as many wives and children as possible to enable him to tend to his father's vast farmland. Akudo had hardly settled in for 2 months when she started spitting to fear, just as Nwankwo predicted. While Nwankwo strutted around the village like a proud peacock, Adaku was beside herself in distress and sought solace in her domestic chores and singing. 9 months later, Akudo gave birth to a baby boy and couldn't stop remarking at every opportunity how the boy would look every inch like his father. Adaku swallowed her pride and added the bathing of the new baby to her daily chores. hoping that her contact with a newborn child would open her womb to receive a child of her own. The very next month, it was Akudo who took in again, bore the baby full term, and gave birth to yet another carbon copy of Nwankwo. At this point, Akudo could be heard telling whoever cared to listen that she has soon become the senior wife, as her barren mate could not give her husband a child. Still, Adaku swallowed her pride and continued praying. Yet, it was Akudo who took in the third time the next month. It was now becoming difficult to convince Nwankwo to come to bed with her. How can my husband sleep with a fellow man? Smacked Akudo. Still, Adaku swallowed her pride and continued pampering her husband, teasing him into her bed with his favorite delicacies, sometimes offering, after a long hard day at the farm, to massage and anoint his aching muzzle with Adaku palm kernel oil. By this time, Akudo has become a conquering empress and has since stopped doing any domestic chores, leaving everything to Adaku. Is it my fault that she cannot have a child? They somehow managed to maintain a barely acceptable level of civility amongst themselves, and time went on. Adaku was almost 4 months gone when she realized she was pregnant. That one, sneered Akudo. I am sure she's not pregnant. Otogafo. She probably has elephantitis of the stomach. How can a man be pregnant? But then, Adaku went on to give birth to an enchanting baby girl. Nwankwo named the baby Aforo Keeme, meaning only because I don't have a choice. But Adaku, the loving mother of the baby girl, secretly named her Monachimso, Monachi for short, meaning my personal God is always by my side. Did I tell you that Monachi's very first cry was as melodious as her mother's singing? Akudo was infuriated and could be heard telling people, so she has given birth to a girl, a singing girl. Did we tell her we are looking for a singing canary or a parrot? Is it a girl that will cultivate the family farm? How would a girl tend to her father in his old age? Aren't girls supposed to get married and move to their husband's house? At the end of this rant, Akudo could let out a long, evil hiss. One day, when Monachi was barely 5 months old, she experienced a bout of hiccups, for which neither breast milk nor back spasm could stop. A concerned neighbor suggested to Adaku to give the baby a little water to drink. Only then did Adaku realize that she was out of drinking water, so she dashed into Akudo's house and begged Akudo's eldest son for a calabash of water. The refreshing fluid was given to Monachi, who promptly stopped hiccuping and started gurgling, waving her pudgy hands and legs in the air in glee. It was said that all hell broke loose when Nwankwo came back from the farm later that day. He met a very angry and hostile Akudo, who threatened to leave the household with her 4 sons if Adaku was not made to replace the water she took from her house that night. Nwankwo could not understand the logic behind Akudo's demand, but being the weak man that he was not about to lose his 4 sons. The Nwankwo clan's future workforce for a woman who could only manage to bear him a daughter. Shuffling his feet and barely looking her in the eyes, Nwankwo demanded that Adaku fetch a replacement pot of water for Akudo that night. This night, cried Adaku, Nnam, can't you see that it's too late to go fetch water from the Oba spring? Who told you that my water was fetched from the Oba spring? Sneered a grumpy Akudo. My water was fetched from Uringene River, and to that river you must go tonight. At first, Adaku thought she didn't hear her correctly. Everyone knew that Uringene was not just a river, but more of a very potent deity. It was said that at night, the Nemo Uringene River goddess held courts on the banks of the river. It was also common knowledge that only a handful of people in recorded history have visited Uringene at night and returned with their senses intact. At this point, it was clear to Adaku that Akudo had hatched his evil plan to get rid of her. She was still hoping that her husband would intercede on her behalf when she heard Akudo tell Nwankwo, please take away Monachi from that evil witch. Better let her know that she would never set eyes on her daughter again if she doesn't fetch my water this night." With this, Akudo strode a clear water pot into Adaku's hands and pushed her out of the hut into the dark, cold, and lonely night. Their husband, Nwankwo, just stood there like a lapdog, watching. Adaku was completely distraught, but faced with the prospect of life without her anchor to life. Life without seeing Munachi again. She resolved in her heart, and with hot, salty tears streaming down her eyes, headed for the banks of Oringene. Even the birds that would typically tweet glaring whenever Adaku was around, expected to join her in one of her melodious tunes, were gravely silent. The wind was dead. Not even the owls had the courage to hoot, nor the crickets the guts to chirp. It didn't make much to know that something evil was afoot, something completely not of this world. As Adaku approached Oringene Bank, she felt the nape of her neck crawl in terror, her hair starting to swell, her heart racing like a haunted hare, and her skin was drenched in perspiration, alternating between hot and cold sweat. She first saw it before she heard it, a green humming, pulsating blanket of light hovering just above the very still surface of the Oringene River. She could actually see what happened to be a translucent diaphragm that separated the intermediate pulses of energy from the now tranquil river. A sudden wave of energy sent Adaku crashing to the ground. She cowered in fear, hyperventilating a sharp burst of air, tinged by the metallic taste of blood in her mouth. Suddenly, she heard a beautifully evil voice in her head. This voice could also be said to come from the both sides of her body, echoing all around her. "Don't you know?" the voice intoned. "For someone who has been here before and escaped with her life intact, you are extremely brave to venture back again, especially at this time of the night. My dear Adaku, you must know that I cannot let you go back. I will not let you tell the world what you have seen and experienced tonight." Rather than further drive the fear and chill down her spine, Nemo's voice, coupled with the very thought of never seeing Munachi again, unleashed a violent rage, a fury Adaku didn't know she possessed deep inside her. Choking on her tears, her voice catching, Adaku once again let her voice loose in her most melodious and serenous song yet. She began to sing. "Onemwa biam karagi inine, Nemwa biam karagi inine, Nwunye di mu di njọ inine, Ngara kụrụ mmiri m ga-enye nwa inine, Ọsị m kwụọ ya ụgwọ mmiri m nye nwa inine, Msị ya echu maọbụ ọsị m echu n'ọba inine, Ọsị m chọọ nri ngene mmiri nwa inine, Mmiri gburu mama n'ọnwa na-eti inine, Mmiri zoro amụma laa n'eluigwe inine." As Adaku's voice faded into the dark, there was silence, punctuated only by the cracking of the green pulsating electric force simmering over the river and Adaku's choking, muffled sobs. There were an audible gasp from the birds hidden in the trees, obviously watching the proceeding from afar. When Nemo responded in a quaint voice, she sang, "Ewo nne nwando inine, Ewo nne nwando inine." At the last refrain of inine, there was a thunder-like crackling and a burst of green electrical charges around Adaku. The green humming pulsating blanket of light lifted off the surface of the water and covered Adaku's prone figure like a royal robe. This was followed by a crack of thunder and a loud whispering sound as though the portal to another dimension has been forced open. Adaku could not bring herself to open her eyes, but then she suddenly felt as if she was in a similar quarters, a feeling that was confirmed when she heard Munachi's happy gurgle. Adaku jumped to her feet to see Munachi lying on her bed in her matrimonial hut. A quick self-scan revealed that she has a long calabash of water hanging from a rope around her neck, while the clay pot that she has taken to the stream stood isolated in the corner of the hut. Adaku walked out of the hut into the bright midday sunlight to a dazed and mournful looking Nwankwo, who, on seeing her, recalled as if he had just seen a ghost. It was only days later that Adaku was told she had been gone for 2 days and had been given up for dead. Nwankwo's skin was covered by what appeared to be a huge blister-filled rashes, and when she emerged from her hut, Akudo's skin was even worse than that of her husband. It appeared that the dreaded Kitikpa, smallpox, had visited both husband and wife during Adaku's absence. Adaku triumphantly handed over the calabash filled with Oringene water to the pitiful sight of what was left of Akudo and headed back to her hut to pick up her daughter. She gathered all her belongings in the hut and tied them in a wrapper. At that moment, she knew exactly where she was headed, home to stay with her brothers. For some reason, she also knew she was pregnant with a male child. As she stepped outside her hut, she glanced at Nwankwo, who looked utterly defeated, his once proud demeanor now replaced by guilt and shame. He stammered, his voice cracking, "Adaku, please forgive me. I have wronged you terribly. I was blinded by selfishness, and I allowed myself to be manipulated." Adaku stood still for a moment, looking at the man she once loved so dearly. The memories of betrayal were fresh, but so were the lessons she has learned from her trials. "Nwankwo," she said firmly, but not kindly, "forgiveness is not for me to give or withhold, but I will not stay where I am not valued. Munachi and I will return to my brother's home, where we will be safe and loved." Akudo, hearing this exchange, began to wail, her face twisted in regret. The once proud second wife, now humbled by the curse of Oringene, begged for forgiveness as well, but Adaku simply turned and walked away, cradling Munachi in her arms. When Adaku returned to her family home, her brothers, Eke, Nkwo, Afo, and Orie, welcomed her with open arms. Their joy knew no bounds as they saw their beloved sister and her daughter safe and sound. "Our home has been empty without you, Adaku," Eke said, tears glistening in his eyes. "You will never have to suffer again." Life with her brothers brought Adaku a new sense of peace. She sang her songs as she walked, her melodious voice filling the air with joy. Her brothers adored Munachi, treating her like a princess. And as months passed, Adaku gave birth to a healthy baby boy, whom she named Chibuzo. God is the leader. He was strong and lively, and his first cry was as sweet as a symphony, much like his sister's. As Adaku's life blossomed, so did her fortunes. The mysterious pot of treasures gifted by Nemo provided her family with wealth beyond their wildest dreams. Adaku used her newfound riches to care for the widows and orphans in the village, just as she had done in her younger years. She rebuilt the village Oba Spring, ensuring that everyone has access to clean water. The villagers began to call her Adanko Obodo, the daughter of the community. One day, Nwankwo, his body healed, but his spirit still burdened by guilt, came to Adaku's family home. He knelt before her brothers and said, I've come to right and wrongs. I left pride and greed roam my family. I seek to be forgiven and to work for Adaku and her children as a servant if she will allow it." Adaku's brothers were furious, but Adaku raised her hand to quiet them. She looked at Nwankwo, her expression calm. "You hurt me deeply, Nwankwo, and I cannot forget that. But for the sake of our daughter and the lessons life has taught me, I forgive you. Yet, forgiveness does not mean I will return to you. My place is here, with my children and my brothers." Humbled but grateful, Nwankwo promised to be a better man. He returned to the village and became a changed man, dedicating his time to helping others. As the years passed, Adaku's children grew to be strong and kind-hearted. Munachi inherited her mother's voice, captivating all who heard her. Chibuzo grew to be a wise and generous young man, a leader among his peers. Together, they brought great honor to their family. And so, Adaku's life became a testament to the strength of the human spirit and the rewards of kindness resilience, and faith. She lived a long and happy life, surrounded by love. Her songs, forgiving, echoing through all the hills and village, carried on the wind as a reminder of her enduring legacy. Thank you so much for watching and supporting me. To new people who found my page, please do like, share, and subscribe. See you next time.